You're listening to GWP Live Severe Weather Coverage. It's Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, and it is now 8 p.m. here, and we are still tracking some ongoing storms that are moving across the local area here. So we're still tracking that here. All right, just making sure that everything is working properly, and it is. So we'll go ahead and we will update you on the latest that we know, which is that we still have tornado watches until 9 o'clock across our western counties. Our eastern counties are under tornado watches until midnight. So again, ongoing severe thunderstorms across the area. That risk is going to be with us as we go through the next several hours. Taking a kind of just a quick look at what we've got going on across the country. We do have a few ongoing severe storms across Pennsylvania and New York this evening. So that's something that we've been tracking here, kind of a smaller area of thunderstorms. Then we've got some storms up across Illinois and into Wisconsin. We've had some flooding and some tornadoes with some of those storms as well. We actually just had two tornado warnings that expired across that region, so that's good news. And then we've had a few additional thunderstorms that have developed across central Illinois, so we'll have to see if that can organize into a line of storms, even a little shower there across Nebraska, and then a couple of storms still ongoing across northeastern Missouri. But in our viewing area, we've got a couple of different batches of storms that we're tracking. We've got the original cluster that we've been tracking for quite some time in our southern counties, and then we've got a few new storms that are starting to develop out towards our west. So we'll go ahead and we will start off with some of these storms that are in our southern counties just to the south of Jefferson City is where we've got these storms currently at. So let's go ahead and get to the latest on these alerts. We'll start off with this one on the northern side of things. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Miller County until 8:30 p.m. At 7:52, a severe thunderstorm was located 9 miles southeast of Osage Beach, moving northeast 45 miles per hour. Hazards include 60-mile-per-hour winds. This is a radar-indicated threat. We're looking at damage to roof sidings and trees. Locations impacted by this are going to be Lake of the Ozarks State Park, Osage Beach, Eugene, and Mary's Homes. Those areas are under the risk for 60-mile-per-hour winds. There is also a tornado possible tag with this storm, so it is recommended that you take shelter as if this were a tornado warned storm, because again, we could be looking at a brief spin up possible. And based on the looks of the radar, it's very well possible if we do have that tornado that it would be rain wrapped, which would make it even more dangerous to be able to identify on the radar and stuff. So here is where we're at with that. So let's back this up just a little bit. We did have a little area of rotation just to the east of Camdenton. This was at about 7:45. So this was initially when that tornado possible tag was added. So a little bit just to the east of US 54, south of Osage Beach, just a little bit of rotation started to develop. Then we had the new warning that was issued for Miller County, and now that rotation has broadened just a little bit, but it is still sitting over Lake of the Ozarks State Park. So just to the southeast of Lake of the Ozarks, we have a little bit of rotation that is starting to develop. And so that is why there is a tornado possible tag with this particular warning. So it's very unlikely that we have a tornado out of this storm, but again, a possible area of rotation beginning to develop on the southern end of the storm, just to the southeast of Lake of the Ozarks and Osage Beach. So you may want to take shelter in a tornado safe place if you are in, let's say, St. Elizabeth, as that's going to be one of the next areas in line for this particular storm. So, but again, our big threat out of this one is going to be the 60-mile-per-hour winds, as we've got a little bit of a Boeing segment that's beginning to develop right. Let me try that again. Right in here is where we've got those straight line winds. So anytime we're dealing with a bow echo is what we call it, that indicates the strongest of winds. It usually lines up with, we usually see the strongest winds usually line up with the leading edge of the rainfall within the thunderstorm. And so that's exactly what we have right here, this bow echo that is starting to develop around State Highway 42, just to the east of US 54. So if you are along US US 54, you are now in the clear. We're just talking about areas that are east of there at this point in time. So east of Lake of the Ozarks, east of Camdenton, that's where the big threat is going to be for 60-mile-per-hour winds. And again, there is a tornado possible, as we did show you that there was a little area of rotation that we are tracking just to the southeast of the Osage Beach area. All right, and then we have another severe thunderstorm warning that's on the south end of that. Let's go ahead and get the latest on that warning. This one for Dallas, Miller, Lastline, and Pulaski, and Camden counties until 8:30 p.m. At 8:03 p.m., severe thunderstorms were located along the line extending from 7 miles northwest of Iberia to 6 miles northwest of Richland to 6 miles northwest of Lebanon. Those were moving northeast 45 miles per hour. Primary hazards include 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts along that Boeing segment that we've been showing you on the radar, and then penny-size hail. This is a radar indicated threat. Expect damage to roofs, siding, and trees with the wind damage. Locations impacted under this warning include Lebanon, Ha-Ha-Tonka State Park, Lake of the Ozarks State Park, Camdenton, Richland, Croker, Iberia, Stroutland, and then Ozark Springs, as well as many others. This includes Interstate 44 between mile markers 122 and 150. There's also a reminder in the description that, again, there is a tornado watch for this same area that remains in effect until midnight tonight. But again, that Boeing segment, that's where we're going to have some of the stronger winds, upwards of 60 miles per hour, maybe even a little bit of rotation on kind of that central area on the eastern side of Lake of the Ozarks. So that is something that we're going to be watching for very closely. Again, I would say that winds are probably going to be the biggest concern out of these storms, but we will still have to watch them very closely because, again, a rotation could certainly start to develop across this region. So we're going to have to see that as we go forward in time. More storms across just north of Springfield. So Springfield, you're still dry at this point in time, although we did get a few storms just to the east of Branson that started to develop around Bradleyville, just to the east of US 65. One pop-up storm did develop south of Springfield, but the rest of the action has stayed further to the north of Springfield. We've also got some training thunderstorms that are once again developing over the same areas that have already seen lots of rainfall, and it is for that reason that we have multiple flash flood warnings that have been issued. That does include a new flash flood warning that was just issued south of US 54 to the east of the other warnings that we've already had. Let's get some new information on that. A flash flood warning was issued for Dallas County until 1:15 a.m. Thursday. At 7:56 p.m., Doppler radar indicated that between 1 to 3 inches of rainfall have fallen. So a radar indicated flash flood threat across that area. Flash flood warning until 1:15 a.m. And cities that are included in that would be Urbana, Lewisburg, and Leadmine. Those areas are under the risk for flash flooding. We've also still got additional flash flood warnings that continue for the next several hours. We've got this one in southeastern Kansas and southwest Missouri. This includes Cherokee County, Kansas, and Barton and Jasper counties, Missouri. This remains in effect until 11:45, as already 2 to 3 inches of rainfall have fallen, and rain is still falling across that area. Radar indicated threat. Locations impacted by this warning include Lamar, Columbus, Carl Junction, Ornogo, Jasper, Golden City, as well as Nashville, Carytown, Ashbury, Next City, as well as many others under that flash flood warning until 11:45. And then just to the east of that, we have an additional flash flood warning that remains in effect until 1:15 a.m. Thursday for Dade, Polk, and Cedar counties, as we've already seen several inches of rain that could lead to flooding in Bolivar, Greenfield, Lockwood, Fairplay, Morrisville, Polk, Dadeville, South Greenville, as well as many other spots, including Stockton Lake as well. So those areas all under flash flood warnings remaining in effect until 11:45 on that far southwestern warning, and then on the downstream warnings that remains in effect until 1:15 a.m. Thursday morning. So if you're going to be traveling through this evening, maybe the severe storms are going to start to wind down, but we are still going to be dealing with some of that heavy rainfall. And in addition to the heavy rainfall, we are going to be dealing with the threat for some flash flooding with it. So that is something that we're going to be watching for very closely. All right, let's see if we have any additional updates. We've got some heavy storms moving through into Jefferson City right now. Let's see, these have now passed through Eldon. So, Eldon, you're in the clear of these storms, but now we're getting into the heaviest of the rainfall there in Jefferson City. So, some pretty heavy storms right now in Jefferson City. And then we've also got some additional showers and some heavier storms into Columbia as well. So, but lighter precipitation ongoing across Columbia. And then Jefferson City, again, as we mentioned, some heavy storms across that area. And then our severe storms further towards the south of that, where we have both of those ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings that are just on the northern side of the interstate. So we'll have to watch this area closely as we go through the next several hours. We've also been tracking those additional thunderstorms that have started to develop across northeastern Oklahoma and southeastern Kansas. Some of these could slide into the viewing area. We've already had some warnings issued around the Coffeyville, Kansas area for some large hail. And then again, we've had those additional showers out across the areas that have already been affected by the flash floodings. That is something to watch as well. Looking at the areas under tornado watch. So we've had a few more areas where the tornado watch has expired. The tornado watch has now expired for Kansas City, Overland Park, Lee Summit, Butler. You're in the clear. We're in the clear in Clinton, Windsor, Sedalia, Warrensburg, Pleasant Hill. All of these areas are in the clear. Also along Interstate 70 from Concordia all the way to Blue Springs, and then even over to Boonville. Boonville, you are also in the clear when it comes to that tornado watch has now been expired for that area. So we've still got tornado watches across southwest Missouri that remain in effect until 9 p.m. And then across central Missouri, ongoing tornado watches across the yellow area that remain in effect until midnight tonight. So that is where we're currently at this point in time on our active warnings and watches. So again, flash flooding is going to continue to be a concern as we go forth in time. All right, let's go ahead and get an update on our two severe thunderstorm warnings just to see where we're at on our flooding. So, or I mean, not our flooding, our winds. Let's go ahead and look here at the velocities to see what we are experiencing at this point in time. So still a little bit of rotation with that one cell there around 42. So we're still watching this area right in here, a little bit of rotation, and that is now east of Camdenton, just to the southeast of Osage Beach. So a little area of rotation has started to develop there, and then possibly around St. Elizabeth, another weaker area of rotation has also developed. So we're still watching that tornado possible tag is still in effect for that northernmost severe thunderstorm warning. So we'll have to see if anything does come about that. But again, I would say right now our biggest rotation, or I guess our most prominent rotation that we have, is on that warning that really we're in between the two warnings. Okay, we just had some new information that came into us. Trained weather spotters have now confirmed that we have some quarter-sized hail near, let's see, 10 miles west of Iberia. There was confirmed to be quarter-sized hail. So this storm right here that's moving through Iberia, we now can confirm has quarter-sized hail from what our trained weather spotters have found. So trained weather spotters have found quarter-sized hail with this storm right here. So that is now, so there is now an observed tag on that severe thunderstorm warning. All right. So we are now going to go ahead and move into a brief intermission. We will return very soon here. All right, and we are back here on our ongoing live coverage of severe weather here on the Great World Productions. So we've got a few active warnings that we've been tracking with some of the ongoing severe thunderstorms. So so here's kind of where we're at right now. Just let's zoom out for just a second because I do want to show you we do have some tornado warnings that have started to develop elsewhere. We've got one that's developing here just in southern Wisconsin right now. So just lots of severe weather has been ongoing in Wisconsin this week. And then we also have a warning, a couple of warnings in northern Illinois. This one's in northeastern Missouri as well. So those storms have now lifted out of our region. And then again, we did start to get some back building in central Iowa, and we still are dealing with that. But what I was waiting to see was whether or not some of these storms would start to make their way further towards the south here. And that just hasn't really been the case. We haven't really seen those storms develop closer to our region from the northern end of things. But what we have seen in the last couple or hour or so is some development of storms here in southeastern Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma. And then again, we've seen those training thunderstorms over the same area that is under that flash flood warning. All right, now let's go ahead and update you on the latest with these ongoing severe thunderstorm warnings. So we've still got that warning right here, this northwest warning that goes till 8:30, where train spotters did report quarter-size hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. They also did mention that there was a tornado possible with that particular storm. Then we've got this warning that goes through Lebanon for 60-mile-per-hour winds and penny-size hail. Both of these warnings go until 8:30, so they're going to be expiring soon. And then very recently, just within the last few minutes here, we've had a new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued as an extension to the previous two warnings that goes for Mares, Miller, Pulaski, and Phillips counties in Missouri until 9 p.m. At 8:11 p.m., severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from near Iberia to near Waynesville to near Lebanon, moving east at 45 miles per hour. Hazards include 60-mile-per-hour winds and penny-sized hail with this new severe thunderstorm warning. Expect damage to roofs, siding, and trees. There is also a tornado possible tag with this new severe thunderstorm warning. So we're still looking at that tornado risk as the storm continues to move further towards the east into the new warning. Locations impacted by this storm include Rolla, Dixon, Bell, Croker, Iberia, Vienna, Bricktown, and Vichy. Those areas are under this warning until 9 p.m. Again, I would recommend taking shelter in a tornado safe location because there is a tornado possible tag with this particular storm. This includes Interstate 44 between mile markers 170, 171, and 179, and between mile markers 180 and 4 and 190. So those are the areas that are at risk for these severe thunderstorms that are moving through. All right, let's go to the velocity here. So again, there's a little bit of rotation in there in between. It looks like now just to the east of Bricktown. So right in this area, that's still where we're watching on the velocity. A little bit of a broad rotation in there. So that is what we're watching very closely for the possibility of a brief rotation. But our main concern is going to be on the leading edge of this, where we're going to be dealing with some strong gusty winds, upwards of 60 miles per hour at times. So that is the storm that we're going to be watching very closely along that leading edge, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Again, some small hail is going to be possible, but it's not really the main concern that we have with this particular storm. The big concern is those 60-mile-per-hour winds because 60-mile-per-hour winds will cause damage. So that can certainly happen. Then we've got some storms moving through Jefferson City, just to the north of Jefferson City and Holt Summit and New Bloomfield, some heavy showers and storms moving across that area. Now we're starting to get some thunderstorms out across St. Louis, so we'll have to watch these. There is a tornado watch across this area as well. That tornado watch currently does not include St. Louis, so it's everywhere to the west of St. Louis where we do have that ongoing tornado watch. But Jefferson City, showers, and then now getting into Washington Washington, Missouri with some of those as well. The heaviest of the rain has now moved east of Columbia, but still some showers are ongoing across that region. And now we've seen those thunderstorms moving into Kingdom City along Interstate 70. So that's really the location that we're tracking of those ongoing warnings. Then we've got this additional cluster of thunderstorms that has been ongoing across southwestern Missouri. So we've got a few different areas being impacted by this, including Stockton, pretty heavy storm moving through Stockton at this point, maybe even some small hail in there. So that's something else that we're going to have to watch very closely is the possibility of maybe even a brief hailstorm developing there into the Stockton Lake area. Some showers, additional thunderstorms continuing as you get into Lamar, Jasper, lots of heavy rain ongoing, and then Sheldon is pretty much the cutoff when it comes to those thunderstorms. A few showers lingering from El Dorado Springs between Wabalo, with Stockton being where some of those heavier thunderstorms are currently concentrated at across that area. But again, we are still watching some storms that have recently developed across southeastern Kansas, and this is something we need. Just one moment here. A couple of things that I'm looking at. So we keep getting new information, just keeps pouring into us here, as this is a live, ongoing event, of course. That's part of the reason why we just keep getting more information. Let's see. So we just got a new scan on the radar. So some of these storms have now gone severe warned. And again, these areas have already seen thunderstorms that produced hail and wind earlier today, but now redevelopment has started to occur across Cherokee and Crawford counties in Kansas. Severe thunderstorm warning until 9 p.m. for those counties for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail. These storms could start These storms could start to make their way into Joplin and the Lamar area in the next hour or so. So that's what we're going to be watching closely very soon. Okay, so we do have some hail that was observed out of this storm. Coffeyville, there was quarter-size hail confirmed in Coffeyville, which, if I remember correctly, we already had quarter-size hail in Coffeyville just 3 hours ago. And so we've actually seen two hailstorms in the same location within the same evening. So it's just, it just continues to prove over and over again that these severe thunderstorms are not a one and done type deal. Sometimes when we get a cold front, once that cold front moves through, we're done with the severe weather. We're not necessarily in one of those situations. Yes, there will come a point in time where the environment has, really been stabilized enough to where we're not going to have as much activity, but we're nowhere close to that point in time as we're still getting additional redevelopment across southeastern Kansas. Now we are in that time period across um, the Kansas City metro area. That area we've definitely really backed off when it comes to any of the severe weather across that region. But still, across mainly our southern counties, that's where we have the heavy showers and the storms, and even the risk for wind and hail. And yes, maybe even a brief spin up or two is going to be possible. All right, we're now going to move into another brief intermission. All right, and we are back here on GWP Live Severe Weather Coverage. It is Wednesday, April 15th, and it is 8:30 p.m., and we are still tracking some ongoing severe storms across the viewing area. So we had three severe thunderstorm warnings that are ongoing just to the south of the state capitol. That is what we have been looking at very closely. Uh, and There we go. Just had to adjust an audio level here as I was coming through twice, as you may have heard, just for a moment there. So luckily we were able to fix that pretty quickly. So those other two severe thunderstorm warnings expired just like we anticipated them to, because they were only going to go until 8:30. But we did have that extension just to the northwest of Rolla. So that severe thunderstorm warning is still ongoing. It goes until 9 p.m. and there is still that tornado possible tag. So this is the warning right here. This area is under a warning. This includes Miller, Pulaski, and Phillips counties until 9 p.m. At 8:18 p.m., severe thunderstorms were located along a line extending from 9 miles west of Freeburg to near Dixon to near Croker, moving northeast at 55 miles per hour. 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and penny-sized hail are the main hazards. This is a radar-indicated threat. Damage to roof sidings and trees is going to be possible. And then we've got Croker, Rolla, Dixon, and Vienna, and Bricktown and Vichy that are under this warning. This includes mile marker 189 along Interstate 44. So that's where we're dealing with this. Again, there is still the possibility of a tornado. So there's that tornado possible tag with this particular storm. And so for that reason, let's go ahead and we'll pull up the velocities here. Well, there we go. Wrong radar here. Just one moment here. Yes, now we're going to go ahead and pull up velocities here. I was on the national radar. So here is where we're at. So a little bit of rotation, not too much. Again, nothing has really been that strong with this storm. We've been tracking it now for quite some time. And again, there's been a little bit of rotation just kind of in this general area to the west of Vichy, to the south of Vienna, a little bit almost around US 63. But again, nothing is really that certain at this point in time. We do have a little bit of a bowing that's happening here. So that, of course, is where we're going to have those 60-mile-per-hour winds now moving through US 63 at this time. Again, this is just a couple miles north of Rolla where we're seeing the worst of the impacts with this particular storm. So again, this goes in effect. And breaking news, we just had a tornado warning that was issued. So we mentioned that there was a little bit of rotation within this storm. And so now we do have a tornado warning that has been issued that includes, it doesn't include Vichy. It's just to the north of Vichy for Vienna and the Bell area. This is southeast of Jefferson City, just to the north of Rolla. We've got Maries County is under a tornado warning until 9:15 p.m. This is for a radar indicated threat. So we don't have confirmation that this is on the ground, but there is a possible tornado across this region here for Mares County. At 8:31 p.m., a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Vienna, or 17 miles northwest of Rolla, moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. So if you're in Bell or Vienna, there's Bell, there's Vienna. You need to take shelter immediately because we are talking about the possibility of a tornado across that region here. And so if we go back to the velocities, we'll see if there was any big changes. And again, we did have a little bit of a tightening of that couplet in there. And so that is part of the reason why this has now been issued as a tornado warning. So nothing really confirmed at this point, but some rotation along US 63. And obviously there was enough rotation to the point where the National Weather Service office there decided to make this a tornado warning for that storm along US 63. So along US 63 to the southeast of Jefferson City, tornado warning has now been issued across that area. So you'll want to make sure to take shelter in a tornado safe place. That could include a designated tornado shelter, or it could be, of course, a basement works very well. If you don't have either of those options, then the next best thing is on the main level to get into a closet or a bathtub, and you want to get as many walls between you and the outside of your house as possible. That's going to make things a lot safer. The good news is that if we were to have a tornado, it appears that it would be a very weak tornado. So if you were in a closet, you probably would be fine. You would just have some exterior damage, and then maybe like a wall or two would collapse, which obviously, your house wouldn't be fine, but you would be fine, and that's what would be very important about that. So again, that would be that's the good news here about this particular tornado is that it appears that it's either not on the ground or it's a very weak tornado. But still, shelter like you would if this was the worst tornado that you've ever heard of coming your way. So again, make sure that you are ready for this one here as we're going to be watching that again. This warning goes for Marist County until 9:15. So newly issued tornado warning across this region here. And let's just go ahead and get kind of a closer look here at the velocities. Okay, I'm going to do something here. It's hard to see that tornado warning the way I've got it. So here is that tornado warning for Marist County. This is the tornado warning, and as far as where the current couplet is right here, it's kind of in this area around Vienna. So around Vienna, now it's probably moving just a little bit to the east of there. Let's see, or I'm trying to see. I believe this warning may be issued. There is a little bit of rotation in here as well. So a little bit here and a little bit here. But I think it's this one that's going to be the main area of concern. Okay. So yeah, that is where we have a little bit of rotation somewhere in there, just to the west of Vichy. So you'll want to make sure to take shelter immediately if you are in the path of this particular storm here. I believe Springfield is going to be too far away. Well, even on the Springfield radar, which is much further away, we are seeing a little bit of rotation in here just to the southeast of Vienna, just to the northwest of Vichy along US 63. That seems to be the area where there is a little bit of rotation at this point in time. So again, the National Weather Service in St. Louis has seen enough to where they believe there is a possibility that we could have a tornado on the ground just to the southeast of Vienna, Missouri, along US 63 in Marist County. And again, as far as where this is, if you're not familiar with this area, it's to the north of Rolla, Missouri, or it's about an hour south, a little bit east of Jefferson City. So that is where we're currently looking at this moving across the area. And so again, there it is on radar. So again, a little bit of rotation along the leading edge of this line. Again, we're also still concerned about the possibility of some 60-mile-per-hour winds on top of that as well. So it's not just the warnings that we have, although the warnings are definitely going to be with us as well. So severe thunderstorm warning and also a tornado warning. So not just a tornado threat, but also the threat for hail and wind out of this storm as well. Moving further towards the west, we're still dealing with some heavy showers and thunderstorms around Flemington, just to the south of Wabalo at this point in time. We could be getting some small hail in there at this point in time. I don't really see anything on radar that would indicate that we have any hail, but we are seeing some very heavy rainfall across that region, none the doubt, across that area. So let's see. We're still watching this severe thunderstorm warning just in southeastern Kansas around Pittsburgh, Kansas. This is just to the west of Oronogo, Jasper, and Lamar. So this is the Kansas-Missouri state line. So we're still watching this storm very closely. Let's get the latest information on this warning. We're concerned about 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail in Crawford and Cherokee counties at 8:19. A severe thunderstorm is located 7 miles north of Oswego, moving east at 45 miles per hour. Locations impacted include Pittsburgh, Frontenac, Columbus, Cherokee, as well as many others that are under that warning as well. So tornado watch until 9 p.m. So that's going to be expiring very soon. And then additional severe storms that we have seen developing here pretty much along or around Interstate 70. That's where we've had the worst of the storms so far this evening here. And so, still getting some pretty heavy storms across just to the west of Jasper along Highway 43. So, we've had lots of heavy rainfall across this region. So, that is something that we're going to have to watch for when it comes to maybe some flash flooding concerns. That can become the bigger story as we get into the next couple of hours here, because again, we've just had these thunderstorms training over the same areas now for several hours here. new information into us. The tornado watch is now expired for Montauk and Boone counties. Those counties, the watch has expired. So we are no longer concerned about the possibility of a tornado in those locations. The environment has stabilized. Our severe weather threat has moved further to the east. So nothing to be concerned about in California, Missouri, or Columbia, Missouri. Columbia and California are now in the clear. Kansas City is in the clear. Warrensburg is in the clear. Sedalia is in the clear. Kansas City, Pleasant Hill, Lee Summit, Independence, Butler, Clinton, all of those areas are in the clear. Where we are still tracking ongoing severe storms would be Joplin, Lamar over to Nevada, and then Hermitage over to Wabalo, Springfield. Let's see, we've also got Branson in there as well, Lebanon, Waynesville, Jefferson City, Lake of the Ozarks, Camdenton, Osage Beach, and Rolla. Those areas, as well as pretty much anywhere that I listed, or anywhere that I didn't list that was around those locations. Still looking at a tornado threat at this moment in time. So, but again, our main warning at this point is for our main storm that we're tracking is that tornado warning that remains in effect for Marys County in central Missouri until 9:15 for a possible tornado that was moving around the Vienna and Vichy area along US 63. So let's go ahead and see if we can get a new scan of the radar. And it looks like that we do have a new scan. So let's see if we have anything new on velocities here. So again, still looking at a little bit of rotation. Now it has moved just to the northeast of US 63. We are now northwest of Vichy and a little bit southwest of Bell. Let's see if we get a different perspective from. Yeah, so again, we do still have our area of rotation right in there that we're watching. So nothing strong at this point, but again, still something that we need to watch very closely to the southwest of Bell. And now it has passed Vienna. Vienna, you are now, well, you're not quite in the clear just yet. You're still in the storm. I would say from the tornadic side of the storm, you are safe from that. Yeah, you're definitely out of harm's way in Vienna for the rotating part of the storm. As far as the wind and the hail concern, that still remains in effect across the area. So Marys County is under both a tornado and a severe thunderstorm warning. The severe thunderstorm warning goes in effect until 9. The tornado warning remains in effect until 9:15. All of the threats within this storm are radar indicated, so nothing is confirmed. But again, a possible rain-wrapped tornado north of Vichy near US 63 is ongoing in Marys County with a warning that remains in effect until 9:15 across the area. So now we will go regionally as we have quite some storms. Look at these storms that are moving through Milwaukee right now. Milwaukee and Wisconsin dealing with some very severe storms at this point in time, 60-mile-per-hour winds and some hail out of that storm. So Milwaukee certainly feeling the brunt of the severe weather tonight. We've also got 2 tornado warnings across southeastern Wisconsin, just to the south of Milwaukee along Interstate 43. And then these storms will be getting into the Chicago metro within the next couple of hours. They're already starting to cross central Lake Michigan around the Milwaukee area, as we mentioned. Rockford in northern Illinois. We're dealing with some storms there. We've had lots of flooding from Madison, Wisconsin, or at least just south of Madison, Wisconsin. We've had some ongoing flooding across this region. More flash flood warnings, just tons of flash flood warnings here across northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and eastern Iowa, just to the north of Cedar Rapids. We've got that ongoing flash flooding across these areas. And then 2 tornado warnings across central Illinois. One of those does include Davenport there. So we also just had a new severe thunderstorm watch that was issued until midnight for southeastern Wisconsin and northern and western Illinois. That does include Milwaukee and Chicago. Of course, Milwaukee, where we've already had the storms moving into that area, but that watch now goes in effect until midnight. There very well may be an additional watch issued for central Iowa, as we've had some storms that have really exploded across that region very recently here. Just to the north of Des Moines, we have 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail with this particular storm. That's along Interstate 35. And then to the north of Ames, Iowa, we've got another additional storm. And then to the west in DeSoto, Iowa, severe thunderstorm warning out for that area, and then a couple of other ones northwest of that area as well. So central Iowa becoming kind of a hot spot over the last hour or so for some additional severe storms that have begun to develop across that region. All right, and then I guess we will back this up a little bit as, yeah, so we've still got some pretty strong storms ongoing across southwestern Missouri, including that severe thunderstorm warning across Crawford and Cherokee County. We'll have to see what happens as this begins to progress east and south across Joplin. Joplin, you could be in line for another round of thunderstorms with this particular line that has begun to develop just to the north of Interstate 44, and then some additional development across northern Oklahoma has also started to take place. Okay, then we go into northern Texas. Severe thunderstorm watch in effect for this area until 10 p.m., so still a little bit longer to go for that area. And then eastern Oklahoma, tornado watch until 9 o'clock, but we'll likely see an extension with that. Well, actually, we might not see an extension. Yeah, an extension might not happen. It all kind of depends on whether or not this line begins to move further to the east. It could be that a severe thunderstorm watch is issued to the east of these areas. If I had to guess, that's probably what we'll see happen. So that's where we're at right now. So severe storms in southern Oklahoma, and then we've got the storms that we're tracking here across Missouri and Kansas, and then we've got storms ongoing across central Iowa, and then northern Illinois and southeastern Wisconsin as well, and then even into the state of New York and Pennsylvania. We've had some ongoing severe storms across that region. That is still ongoing at this time as well. So some pretty strong winds here, it looks like, in southern New York, and then also a warning across just to the west of Beamington. We've got that warning. So yeah, several different warnings across the Northeast as well. So I would say the most active area right now is probably northern Illinois and southeastern Wisconsin. Right now we have 3 tornado warnings just in that one region. So that is definitely what I would say is the most active spot for severe weather. We actually No, we actually have 5 tornado warnings across that area. So yeah, very active across Illinois and Wisconsin. That's our most active area for severe weather, but we are still tracking a few storms here into central and southern Missouri that, of course, we've been looking at very closely. All right. So not a whole lot of updates on the watches, so the watch still remains until 9 o'clock, so we'll soon see that expire unless it is extended, which there's a very good possibility that that could happen, just since we are still dealing with some of those storms there across southeastern Kansas and southern Missouri. So it's possible that a new watch is issued or the old one is extended or updated. That is definitely going to be a possibility. All right, let's go ahead and go to the radar. So again, tornado warning remains in effect for Marys County. So we're still watching that very closely for that rotation. So still radar indicated. The latest update was at 8:44. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Vienna, or 16 miles north of Rolla, moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. So again, still no confirmation of any tornado, but if you are in this tornado warning, and that does include Bell in Missouri, then you'll want to make sure to go ahead and take shelter in your tornado safe place until 9:15. Vienna, the warning is no longer for you, so you are safe to get out of your tornado safe place. Vichy along US 63, that is beginning to clear out of there as well. So that is good. And it looks like that we have just gotten a brand new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued to the east of our area under the tornado warning. So we've got for Osage, Crawford, Franklin, and Gasconade counties, severe thunderstorm warning until 9:30 p.m. So this is an extension off of the tornado warning storm at 8:46 p.m. Severe thunderstorms were located along the line from near Lynn to 27 miles south of Freeburg, or along the line from near Lynn to 24 miles southwest of Cuba, moving east at 55 miles per hour. And our big threat is going to be 60-mile-per-hour winds, but there is a tornado possible tag. So likely our tornado threat has gone down a little bit, but we're still watching that area that was rotating a few minutes ago as it now moves into this new severe warned area along US 50, or along US, yes, along US 50. So we've got Owensville, we've got Civilian, we got Bourbon, we got Gerald, or yeah, Gerald is under this warning. It's just to the southwest of Washington and Union, where we're currently dealing with some pretty heavy showers and storms across that region. But new severe thunderstorm warning has an extension to the tornado warning in effect until 9:30. The tornado warning itself goes until 9:15. So that's some of the latest on that situation that is ongoing there. So, no new updates on our warning in Kansas. So of course, we've been watching this severe thunderstorm warning, particularly this one here in southeastern Kansas, as again, it may cross over into the state of Missouri, but we're also tracking this cluster of thunderstorms that has been training over the same areas. So again, if you look in the last 30 minutes, not a lot of movement has happened, and that's what we're concerned about. The same area just continuing to get pummeled by heavy amounts of rainfall. So that would be our biggest concern that we have at this point in time for these storms along US 49, or I mean, along Interstate 49 to the north of Interstate 44. So this is the area where we're concerned about flash flooding, especially now, because the area that already saw a lot of rainfall in the earlier storms during the afternoon and early evening hours, now into the later evening hours, we're seeing those areas play out with the same heavy amounts of rainfall. So that is of concern. And a new flash flood warning was just issued on the far western end of this stretch here. This goes for Cherokee County and Kansas. This flash flood warning goes till 11:45, and again, we've already seen 1 to 3 inches of rainfall, so that very well could lead to flooding across Cherokee and Crawford counties, Kansas, as well as into Barton and Jasper counties, in Dade and Lawrence counties, into Missouri. So those areas are under flash flood warnings, and then additionally, on top of that, we've got the severe thunderstorm warning that remains in effect for some hail and some winds of up to 60 miles per hour across southeastern Kansas. So, we do have an update to share with you from the Storm Prediction Center on today's severe weather outlook. You will notice that the area has grown a little bit smaller than it was earlier today. Earlier today, it was over kind of in this area. So we have seen them chop off. The SPC has chopped off that western edge of the area that's been highlighted today. Whoops. So, so that is what we're going to be dealing with through the rest of this evening. The same areas highlighted in yellow, though, we are still under that slight risk for severe storms for today. So that's 2 out of 5 on that severe weather scale. Tornadoes still going to be a concern. We are still under the hatched area, which means that EF2 tornadoes or stronger are still going to be possible. We've got that 5% category. It's still something we need to watch through the evening hours. That includes Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, Arkansas, Oklahoma. These states are still at risk for tornadoes through this evening. Wind threat is still going to be with us here. We're in that 15% category. We're also under that hatched area for hail across central Missouri, where we could be looking at 2 to possibly upwards of 3-inch hail on the higher side of things as we go through this evening. So, of course, that is something that we're going to be watching for very closely. Tornado watch does remain in effect until 9 p.m., but it is very likely that we could see some sort of extension on that. So we'll be watching for that in the coming hours. As we mentioned, severe weather is not really expected as we go into tomorrow. There's a few areas in southeastern Missouri where we might see a few thunderstorms develop, but overall things should be a little bit on the quieter side as we go into Thursday. But then on Friday, we'll have the highest risk of severe weather that we've had so far this season, and so that is something that we need to watch very closely as we go into Friday. Rainfall is going to be a concern. Again, marginal risk for flooding today from the Weather Prediction Center. Then, as we go into Friday, though, you'll notice that our northern counties are under that slight risk. That's a 2 out of 4 on that flood index scale from the Weather Prediction Center. So, heavy rainfall amounts are going to be possible as we go into today, but also as we go into Friday with our more elevated severe weather threat as we go into Friday. All right, so let's go ahead and update you on the latest. Before we go to our brief intermission, we just want to update you on the storms here. So this warning still ongoing across Cherokee and Crawford counties. We've still got our tornado warning with our tornado possible tag on the downstream warning that remains in effect. So tornado warning for Maris County is still in effect across this area. Let's go ahead and switch over to velocities. And not really seeing a whole lot of rotation, maybe a little bit to the southwest of Owensville, but overall we are starting to lose that rotation that we once had within this storm, but still some straight line damaging winds on the leading edge of this storm is going to be possible. All right, we will now move into our next intermission. We will return right after the top of the hour. All right, and we are back here with our ongoing live coverage here. You're listening to GWP Live Severe Weather Coverage. It is Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, and it is now 9 p.m. 9 p.m. in the evening, and we are tracking the ongoing severe storms across the region here as we do have a tornado warning that remains in place for one of our counties. Mares County, just to the north of Rolla, is now no longer under a tornado warning, just as I said that. So this warning has just expired as the storm has moved out of the warned area, but there is still a severe thunderstorm warning to the east of that area that does include Crawford, Franklin, and Gasconade counties until 9:30, 60-mile-per-hour winds. There is a tornado possible tag, so if you are in the path of that particular storm, you'll still want to be mindful that a tornado is going to be possible. Right in here, though, that's where we're going to be dealing with the strongest of our winds. 60-mile-per-hour winds are going to be possible. This storm is going to continue to lift further towards the east. And then, if you are driving along Interstate 44, you're going to be experiencing some of these very gusty winds over the next few minutes across that region. So, that severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for those areas that we did mention, and that continues until 9:30 this evening. So, if you are under that area, make sure that you take shelter from 60-mile-per-hour winds because 60-mile-per-hour winds can certainly cause some damage. And so that is something that we're going to continue to be monitoring very closely. Let's go ahead and expand to the regional view. Okay, a few things that I want to point out here. This has expired, and this severe thunderstorm warning has expired. So those right there, those two warnings that I just X'd out have both expired as of 9 p.m. So we still have the ongoing warning. This warning is actually technically out of our viewing area, but we're still tracking it anyways because it's near our viewing area. But we do still have that warning that's ongoing. But other than that, the only warnings that we have are the ongoing flash flood warnings across southeastern Kansas and into western Missouri here. As far as where the tornado watches are at, so Nevada, your tornado watch has expired. We did have tornado watches in Wabalo and Hermitage and Preston and Cross Timbers and Osceola. Those areas no longer under a tornado watch. Versailles, your tornado watch is gone. Columbia, Sedalia, and then everywhere northwest of there, tornado watches have also expired. If I were to draw as far as where we're done with the severe weather, I would say probably really anywhere in this region right here, and then beyond that area, this area right here, we are done with severe weather for this evening. You are good to go. So if you're in any of these areas that I have just highlighted, really probably even more like that would be included. So yeah, we'll say, oh, well, I didn't mean to do that. But yes, you get the idea. So those areas that I just circled moments ago, those areas are completely good to go. We don't have any more severe thunderstorms expected across those areas. But for the areas that are still highlighted in yellow, we are now under a tornado watch in Joplin and Springfield until midnight. So the areas highlighted in yellow, we're under a new tornado watch until midnight. So those areas are still at risk for severe storms. In fact, we did just get a new severe thunderstorm warning that popped up in southwestern Missouri. So let's go ahead and turn our attention towards the new warning. And it does include central and southern Barton County and northern Jasper County. So let's go ahead and take a look at this new warning that has just been issued with these developing storms that we've been tracking in Kansas and Missouri. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for Barton and Jasper counties until 9:45 at 8:59 p.m. A severe thunderstorm was located near Pittsburgh, moving east at 60 miles per hour. Hazards include 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. This is a radar-indicated threat, so nothing has been confirmed. But again, the radar says that it is possible that we're dealing with both severe winds and hail out of this storm. Hail damage to vehicles is expected. Expect wind damage to roofs, sidings, and trees. Locations impacted include Lamar, Oronogo, Jasper, Golden City, Purcell, Nashville, Mendamines, Ashbury, Neck City, Lamar Highlights, Milford, as well as Maple Grove. Those areas are under this warning until 9:45 for the possibility of straight line winds of upwards of 60 miles per hour that could lead to damage, as well as quarter size hail. So severe thunderstorm warning has now been issued for this area. We've got lots of heavy rainfall that we've already seen across this area. In fact, something that we can do here that we haven't actually done, we can estimate rainfall. Now, sometimes you have to take this with a grain of salt. This is why I don't really show this very often, because sometimes these numbers can be just a little bit unrealistic. But really, in this case, I don't know that they really are. We're looking at 1 to 2 inches of rainfall across this area just in the last hour. That's very well possible. I mean, it's been just pouring down rainfall across this region for several hours now. I would not be surprised if these accumulation numbers were accurate. It's very well possible that we've had 3, 4, 5, maybe even upwards of 6 inches of rainfall across this area. I mean, I would not rule it out. I mean, we have just had pretty much rainfall all night long, it seems like, across this region. Now, let me see. No tornado, no tornado possible attack. Okay, that's very good news. So we're not concerned about rotation. We're just concerned about the hail and the wind that may come with this particular storm here. And yeah, so we've definitely got that straight line winds, or very likely straight line winds here on. There it is. There's that Boeing segment that we have. So this is where we're dealing with the straight line winds just to the north of Oronogo, and it is along, really, it's just right along the highway. State Highway 43 is right here. That's where we're dealing with some of these straight line winds. Here's Jasper. So Jasper, you're going to be impacted pretty soon, as well as into Boston here, and then Alba as well. So those areas are going to be impacted very soon by straight line winds that are going to be upwards of 60 miles per hour. That can lead to some tree damage, and it certainly is going to blow you around out there on the highway. So the recommended action is to get off the highway, get into a sturdy structure, and then make sure that you go to the lowest or the most interior room on the lowest floor of a building. That is going to be the recommended actions, because again, we are looking at some very strong winds out of this particular warning here, with again the possibility of some straight line winds across this region. So that is something that we're going to be watching very closely for. So, still ongoing heavy rainfall across Bolivar. We've got from Dadeville, just to the north of Morrisville, Lewisburg, Urbana. So this is just to the south of US 54. We have just had these training thunderstorms just over and over. These areas have just continued to get pummeled with heavy amounts of rainfall, thunder, and lightning just ongoing for several hours. And that's been the ongoing story that we have been dealing with across this area here. All right, so, and let's see. We just had, is that what okay. Tornado warning was just issued along that same line that we've been tracking now for quite some time here. This is on the very edge of our viewing area here, but we're still going to go ahead and take a look at it here. It's along that same, yeah, it's again along that same line that we've been watching for the straight line winds in East Missouri here. Let's see what we've got here. So the National Weather Service in St. Louis has now issued a tornado warning for Crawford, Franklin, and Gasconade counties until 9:45 p.m. At 9:03 p.m., a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located 10 miles southeast of Owensville, moving east at 55 miles per hour. This is a radar indicated rotation. So again, it's very well possible that this is not on the ground, but the radar does say that there's enough rotation happening in the atmosphere that we need to have everybody take shelter, because again, there is the possibility of a tornado within this particular storm here. So as far as this is a little bit more of a populated area than some of the areas that we've dealt with earlier this evening. So when that does happen, they'll also put out kind of a timing statement. If you're in Sullivan, this tornado will be near you at around 9:20, and then Murmagua Park around 9:25. Now, these are not exact times. That's just an estimate of when the rotation would move into those particular areas. So here is where we're at. So let's go ahead and All right, so we're in St. Louis. We're at the National Weather Service in St. Louis. So let's go ahead and let's pull up the velocities and see where our strongest rotation is. Looks like we've got a little bit around Spring Bluff in here, a little bit towards the west up Sullivan, and then, well, actually, I think our stronger rotation is got one right here and then a little bit there, but I think our main rotation is right in here just to the south of Spring Bluff. All right, so again, tornado warning is now in effect, and that does include again, a few populated areas. This includes Oak Hill, Japan, Stanton, Noser Mill, Piney Park, and Robertsville State Park and Robertsville. So those areas. This also includes mile markers 225 to 253 along Interstate 44. So again, make sure that you take shelter in the most interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, as that's going to be where you're going to want to be at in order to ride out this possible tornado. Again, as of right now, the storm is out of the viewing area and the risk is very low with this particular cell, but we are still watching the possibility of a tornado within that storm here. And again, that severe thunderstorm warning is kind of outside of that as well. So these storms are starting to move into the western metro area of St. Louis. Surprisingly, in my opinion, St. Louis is still not under any sort of watch, but we are starting to get some heavy showers and thunderstorms across that region. Okay, and then as we mentioned, we are still dealing with a severe thunderstorm warning across Barton and Jasper County. That goes until 9:45, and we just got some new information. Radar estimates are now saying that we are looking at the possibility of 70-mile-per-hour winds with this storm. So this severe thunderstorm warning has been upgraded to a considerable threat tag. So we now have a considerable threat tag with this severe thunderstorm warning in Jasper and southern Barton counties. And look at this here on the velocities. Very strong bow echo signature right here. So again, the possibility of 70-mile-per-hour winds are now moving into locations like Lamar, Oronogo, Jasper, Golden City, Alba, Purcell, Nashville, Mendamines, Neck City, and as well as Boston, Missouri. So those areas are under severe thunderstorm warning for the threat of 70-mile-per-hour winds with a considerable threat tag with penny-sized hail. This is a radar indicated storm at this point in time. The latest update says that at 9:06, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing 70-mile-per-hour winds was located 8 miles north of Purcell, or 12 miles east of Pittsburgh, moving east at 60 miles per hour. So this storm is charging very rapidly here. Looks like that we just got a new scan here on the radar, so we'll go ahead and we'll update our wind signature from the velocity. So again, this is where we have, let's try that again here. This is where the 70-mile-per-hour winds would be at, right here. So it's moving towards the east. It's going to be closing in on Interstate 49 very soon. Again, we have already dealt with quite an excessive amount of rainfall across this region. And now, on top of that, we are now adding with it 70-mile-per-hour winds from a severe thunderstorm that is actively moving across this region. So, flooding and 70-mile-per-hour winds are going to be a possibility with the latest update here. And I want to see here, we still don't have a tornado threat, so that is, of course, the positive. But again, 70-mile-per-hour winds are going to be possible on the leading edge of this line of thunderstorms that is now beginning to move in here. All right, so we'll go ahead. And so again, that Boeing segment moving eastward, it's going to be moving into Interstate 49 very soon. Jasper is going to be included in this. This is going to be going just to the north of Carthage. So Carthage, you are in the clear for this particular storm, but Jasper, Boston, as well, as into Lamar, we are expecting some very gusty winds with again, gusting at times at 70 miles per hour with this particular storm here. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we have any updates on our tornado warning. So currently no new updates on the tornado warnings. Let's go ahead and now we'll go to the velocities on that particular storm. See if we have any reason to believe that this is on the ground based on the rotation in the atmosphere. Looks like a little bit of rotation just to the north of Sullivan. Right in here, a little broad area of rotation, Sullivan, and also just to the southwest of Stanton along Interstate 44. That is where we're watching for that rotation. This was as of the 914 scan, so again, it would probably be starting to move further towards the northeast. St. Clair, you were next in line. So if you're in St. Clair, Missouri, make sure to take shelter immediately from this storm because, again, it is moving very close to you at this point in time. Sullivan, that rotation has already started to move through. So take shelter in a tornado safe place if you are in any of these areas. And again, as we have listed off already, this goes for Crawford, Franklin, and Gasconade counties until 945 interstate mile marker or interstate 44 mile markers 225 to 253. Those are the areas that are going to be at risk for this tornadic storm as it continues to move further towards the east here. And then we're also tracking again on that other storm, that Boeing segment showing 70-mile-per-hour winds as they begin to move into Jasper, Missouri. So two ongoing different areas of thunderstorms that are leading to some ongoing concerns for us. All right, and with that, we will go ahead and we will move into our next intermission. All right, and we are back here with our ongoing GWP live severe weather coverage on April 15th. Going ahead and looking at what we are currently dealing with, we've still got a tornado warning across eastern Missouri. So that's something we've been tracking with that line of thunderstorms, that complex that's been moving further to the east. And then we had additional storms that began to develop across southwestern Missouri as well. And so now we're dealing with some straight line winds across Barton and Jasper counties out of these new storms that have started to develop. Of course, we've talked about how the flash flooding risk has gone up quite a bit in the last couple of hours as we've had those training thunderstorms over the same areas. So flash flood warnings remaining in effect for the next several hours with the ongoing activity that we are dealing with here across the same areas, just being repeated with this activity. Let's go ahead and now we're going to take a look at the latest update on this severe thunderstorm warning is again, we were dealing with 70-mile-per-hour winds was the main concern in the description, and we still have that risk. At 9:06 was the last update. A severe thunderstorm is located 8 miles north of Purcell. Remember, this remains in effect for Barton and Jasper counties until 9:45. If we pull up the base velocity, we're still seeing maybe not quite as strong as what we saw just a little bit ago, but we're still seeing that bowing structure right there. It's starting to flatten out just a little bit, but still we're seeing a bowing segment there stretching from just south of Lamar to going just now to the east of Jasper and then around the Carthage area as well. So Carthage, you're kind of on the edge of this. You're probably getting like 40 or 50-mile-per-hour winds there. So again, probably 40 to 50-mile-per-hour winds across Carthage, but then the 60 to 70-mile-per-hour winds are going to be right in this area of the Boeing segment. So that is where we're going to be looking at the worst of it. And so yeah, 70-mile-per-hour winds. And again, there will be some small hail with this storm as well. So we're going to be watching that closely too. All right, so we've got that warning that remains in effect there. Again, the winds are the strongest of the storm has now crossing into the other side of Interstate 49 in Barton and Jasper counties. Still, some strong thunderstorms south of US 54 between Max Creek and Camdenton, and then really just points south of US 54. Strong storms continuing. We've still got some showers and few rumbles of thunder across Hermitage to Wheatland, over to Wabalo and Cross Timbers and Edwards, Lake of the Ozarks and Osage Beach. Few showers moving through, light rain across Jefferson City, and then things have started to dry out for Columbia and points towards the west of there. Now let's go ahead and look closer at this tornado warned storm in eastern Missouri. So now we're getting even closer to the St. Louis area. Again, this is just outside of our viewing area, but we're still going to show it anyways here as still tornado warning remains in effect until 9:45 p.m. This remains in effect for Franklin County until 9:45 as we have Union and Washington, Missouri that are under this warning, or at least just south of Washington is where that warning currently is in effect for. Let's go ahead and look here on the base velocity. And again, just to so it looks like we've got maybe a couple areas of rotation, with the main area being along Interstate 44 from Sullivan to Stanton. At this point in time, I'm not seeing anything too strong here on the base velocity, so that of course is good news that there's nothing that really stands out. So I doubt that we have a tornado in progress at this point, just based on how weak the velocities are as of right now. But we'll still watch that storm very closely as we go forward in time for that area that is highlighted under that warning. Again, that warning remains in effect for Franklin County until 9:45, and it is continuing to make its way towards St. Clair and Parkway. Expect it at around 9:30. So 9:30, it's going to be moving towards those areas that we mentioned there. So just to the west of St. Louis. And that entire region is still under a tornado watch until midnight tonight. That includes eastern Missouri and then anywhere along Interstate 44 across southern Missouri and then into southwestern Missouri and then even into southeastern Kansas, where we've got those ongoing warnings for 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts with the damaging winds that we are going to be experiencing across that region here. All right, so again, our big concern right now is the 70-mile-per-hour winds in association with this warning across Jasper and Barton counties. All right, well, since we don't have anything new at this point in time to report, we are going to go ahead and end the live stream. If necessary, of course, we will come back on as these storms continue to move here across the state of Missouri. But as of right now, that's all the information.